In this video, I'm going to share with you the essential features that you need to be familiar with when trading on the Tastyworks trading platform. More specifically, I'll start with basic features like creating a watch list and customizing your columns on that watch list, but I'll also talk about more specific features such as things that you're going to find on the trade page when making an options trade. I'll also show you how to visualize the risk and reward potential of any option position using the analysis tab. Now, just to let you know, if you don't already have a Tastyworks trading account, check the link below in the description, because if you open and fund your first Tastyworks trading account using the project option referral code, we'll give you full access to one of our paid courses completely free. So let's go ahead and get started and get into the platform. So the first thing that you'll notice when you open the Tastyworks trading platform is that on the left hand side we have the watch list, and this is where you can look at all of the symbols that you're tracking, and you can customize your own watch list to add whatever stocks or products you want to track in the future. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But moving to the right hand side, we have this main section of the trading platform, and this is a dynamic section, meaning this will change depending on where you navigate to on the platform. So right now I have the positions tab open, which is basically my portfolio of stock and option and futures positions, but right now I just have one option position, so this is all that's showing up. Now, in terms of dynamic, I said that if you click or navigate to another section of the platform, this section will change. So if I click on the trade tab, this section changes. If I go to activity, it changes again. If I go down to the chart, it changes once more. So this main section of the platform is dynamic and will change depending on what you click on in the platform. But on the left-hand side, you have the watch list, which is a static section, meaning that this will always be here no matter what you do on the platform. But the first thing I want to talk about is the watch list. So right now I'm on the project option watch list, which is something that I've created, and you will not see this in this drop-down menu because this is my own custom watch list that I have created. So if you want to go to any of these pre-made watch lists, all you have to do is click on this drop-down menu on the top left side and just click on the watch list. So for example, if we click on Tom's watch list, this is a pre-created watch list that Tom Sosnoff has selected, and these are all the symbols that he might be trading or is just keeping an eye on for future reference. So you probably want to create your own watch list, and to do that you're going to click on the gear symbol right above this drop-down menu. Go ahead and click on that gear symbol and make sure you click on lists, and once you do that, you can go ahead and click on add new list, and we're just going to call this new list. So what you're going to want to do is search for the first symbol that you want to add to the list. So let's go ahead and search for Apple. So I'm going to search for Apple and hit add Apple to new list. Now I can go ahead and add more symbols if I want to. So SPY is one that I'd like to look at, maybe the VIX. I'll go ahead and add that. And if I hit OK, go to this drop-down menu, we'll see that new list is now available in the available watch list. So if I click on new list, we will see all of the symbols that I've just added to that watch list. Now from here, you can actually add more symbols by using the search box at the bottom left-hand side. So if I go ahead and click on, let's say Tesla, go ahead and click that, and then click on the plus symbol, that will add Tesla to this new watch list. Now once you've created your own watch list, you're probably going to want to customize these columns that you see here so you can see all of the metrics that you want to look at for each particular symbol in your watch list. So if you want to change these columns, all you have to do is go back to that gear symbol, and by the left sidebar, these are the metrics that you're currently seeing on your watch list. So we see the displayed columns and the not displayed columns. So on the not displayed columns, there's all these things that I can choose from, and I'm going to go ahead and select earnings date. And to add one of these columns to your displayed columns, you can either click it, so just click it, or you can click and drag something. And if I wanted to rearrange these, I can go ahead and click and drag that as well. But I like this sorting, so I'm going to go ahead and stay with this. So once I've added earnings date to the displayed columns, I'll click OK, and we'll notice that it's not appearing as of now. But if you look here, we see two dots, and these two dots are indicating that there's actually two pages essentially of metrics that we can look at. So to go to the next page, just click on that arrow to the right, and it says earnings at, and we don't see any information here, and that's because there are no earnings for these symbols coming up. So let's go ahead and add another thing here. So if I click on IV percentile, that's going to add that metric to the watch list. And if I go ahead to the second page, this is showing me the IV percentile, or implied volatility percentile, for the options on each of these symbols. Now the last thing I'll show you is how to reposition symbols in your watch list. So if you want to sort them in a particular manner, like I've done here, I have the VIX index, and then below it I have all of the upcoming VIX futures contracts. So if you want to reposition anything in your watch list, just click and drag the symbol, and if you want it to go above a particular symbol, then drag it on top of that symbol. So I just dragged SPY on top of the VIX, and that's going to put SPY above the VIX index. Alright, so we've just covered the left section of the Tastyworks platform, which is the watch list section, and this is the static section of the platform that will remain here no matter what you do or navigate to on the platform. So we're going to move on to the main section here, and currently I have the positions tab open, and the positions tab is going to show me all of my portfolio positions, and as of now I just have one SPX position. So you'll notice that there are a couple filters here. And if there is a white line underneath this and it's got a dark background, that means that the filter is enabled. So for instance, this is an option position. So if I click on options to deselect this filter, it's going to remove all the option positions from the positions tab. So if I wanted to go ahead and just see whatever stocks I have, I could just go ahead and only have this stocks filter selected, which will show me all of the stock positions I have in my portfolio. But since I have none, nothing is showing up here. So I'm going to go ahead and re-enable all these. And the next thing I want to talk about is the group by. So if you group by symbol, it's going to group your option and stock positions by each symbol. And if I wanted to deselect this, we're going to see what happens. So if I deselect the symbol group by button, that is going to put all of my individual positions in a line, and it's not going to group them together by the symbol. So if I don't have group by symbol, we can see that I have 4 different SPX option positions, but those are all comprising one position, so I like to have the group by symbol selected. Now, just like we did with the watch list columns, we can also customize the positions tab columns by clicking on the gear to the right hand side above the positions tab columns. So I'm going to go ahead and click the gear, and it's going to show me the displayed columns and the not displayed columns. So currently I have days to expiration, trade price, which is what I entered the position for. I have the mark, which is the current price of the position. I have EXT, which shows me all of the extrinsic value that remains in the position and individual options. And I have the Greeks for the position and the net liquidation value of the position. So you can go ahead and go through all of these different metrics and add whatever suits your needs, but I like to keep things clean and simple, so these are the columns that I've selected for my positions tab. The next section we're going to talk about is the trade page on the Tastyworks platform, which can be accessed by clicking on the trade tab right below the positions tab in this main section here. So if you click on trade, that is going to pull up the options chain section for whatever stock or symbol that you currently have selected in this search box up here. So if I wanted to go to Apple options, I could type in AAPL, hit enter, and this will open up the options chain for Apple options. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that I only have standard expiration cycles selected, so that's the standard monthly expiration cycles. It does not cover any non-standard cycles, which would be weeklies or quarterlies or anything that's just not one of these third Friday of the month expiration cycles. So one way you can change that, and I think this is a great feature of Tastyworks, is by going to this config tab right here, click on the filter symbol, and you can choose from all expirations. So if I click all expirations, this will show me the standard expirations, which are this darker color, and it will also show me the non-standard or weekly cycles, which are this shaded region, and you can also see this W indicated right next to the expiration date, and this W indicates that this is a weekly expiration cycle. I personally don't really trade any weekly expiration cycles. I stick to the standard monthly expiration cycles, so I like to go ahead and just sort for the regular expirations only. So if you're in the standard table view mode, you'll notice that in the middle here, there's the strike column, which actually, if you're not into any one of these particular expiration cycles and you're just looking at all of these expiration cycles from a broad perspective, this middle column here actually tells you the number of days until the options in that expiration cycle expire. So this says 65D on the April 18, 2019 expiration cycle, and that tells me that there are 65 days until expiration. So if I wanted to go ahead and click into the April 2019 options, you're just going to click anywhere on this bar, and this will open up the option chain for the April 18, 2019 options. So in the middle, you'll see the strike prices. On the left-hand side, you'll see the call options, and on the right-hand side, you will see the put options. So the two columns that you are always going to see are the bid and the ask. Now really quickly before we move on, you can customize the columns that you see on the trade tab. So right now I have delta and open interest selected because I choose strike prices for my trades based on delta, so I like to have the delta opened up. And I also want to see how many open contracts there are so that I trade liquid options. Now for that I have open interest opened up, but to change either of these columns you can just go ahead and click on it and you can see all of the different metrics that you can choose from. So for example, if I choose, let's just say EXT, this is going to show me the extrinsic value of every single option on the option chain. So right now it's saying that in the April 2019 options, if I look at the 120 call option, the EXT or extrinsic value is 70 cents. Now the overall price of this option is closer to $51.15, but of that price, 70 cents of that is extrinsic. Now when you click on the bid or ask price for a particular option, that does not automatically execute the trade. That's just setting up the position for you to execute later on after you've set everything up and analyzed all of the risk reward metrics and whatnot, and you're comfortable with that trade and you actually want to send it to an exchange. So for example, if I wanted to sell the 170 call in Apple, go ahead and click on the bid price of $7.15 on the 170 call in Apple, and these prices will actually update in real time. So if we go below here, we can see that it says the mid price is $7.15, which is just the halfway point between the bid and ask price as of right now. So the bid price is $7.10, the ask price is $7.20, so the midpoint of those two prices is $7.15, which we're seeing down below here. So you can actually enter a spread here, and since I've already queued up to sell the 170 call in Apple, I can go ahead and create a spread by buying an option below or above this strike price. So since Apple's at 170, let's say I think Apple's going to be below 170 in 65 days at the time of this April expiration cycle, but I want to define my risk in case Apple does increase significantly in the near future. So one thing I could do is buy a call option with a strike price above the 170 call. So if I go ahead and click on the 180 call's asking price of $2.94, that's going to actually create a spread position now. So at the very bottom here, we can see the order is to sell one 170 call and buy one 180 call in the April 18th, 2019 expiration cycle. Now the -1 indicates that you're trying to sell one contract, and the regular one or the +1 indicates that you're trying to buy one of those contracts. So the price that we're seeing here is actually the net price, or the net credit in this case, of this particular spread. So if I sell the 170 call and buy the 180 call, the current mid price of that spread is a $4.16 credit, which we can see by this little CR here. Now if this was a debit, then it would be DB, which would indicate that we'd have to pay for that spread as opposed to receiving option premium as we are in this case. Now at the very bottom, as you populate different option positions as we've created here, this is a short call spread or a bear call spread where I'm selling a call option and buying another call option at a higher strike price at the same time and in the same expiration cycle. You'll see this trade info row here, which gives you information about that particular trade. The first metric you'll see is POP, or probability of profit, and this is the estimated probability that you'll make at least 1 penny on this trade if you hold it through the expiration date. So this POP of 60, or probability of profit of 60%, is telling me that if I sell this 170-180 call spread with 65 days to expiration, I have a 60% estimated probability of making at least 1 penny on this trade if I hold this short call spread through the expiration date. Now the next thing you'll notice under the trade info row is EXT, which is how much extrinsic value is in the options that you are queuing up. So right now I have the 170-180 short call spread queued up, And since Apple is at 169.95, the 170 call is out of the money and the 180 call is also out of the money, which means any value that they have is entirely extrinsic. So that explains why the EXT says $413 or $410 and the mid price is $410 or $4.10. So this is telling me that essentially all of the value of this call spread is extrinsic. So the EXT is really a good thing that you're going to look at if you want to know how much extrinsic value remains in the option. Now, to give you a better example, if I go and click on the 125 call, we'll see that the 125 call option is trading with a mid price of $45.77, but the EXT is only $85. So there's only $85 of extrinsic value in this option that is trading worth $4,577. The next metric you'll see is P50, which is the estimated probability of achieving a 50% profit on the position between now and expiration. So the POP, or probability of profit, is the profit at expiration. So this is a 60% estimated probability of achieving any level of profit at the time of expiration, whereas P50 is estimating a 70% probability of achieving a 50% profit or more between now and expiration. So for a short call spread, a 50% profit would occur if the position's price fell by 50% from the entry price. So if I sell this 170-180 call spread for $4.15, a 50% profit would occur if this 170-180 call spread's price fell to 50% of this value, or 207 or 208. So Tastyworks is estimating that if I sell this call spread, there's about a 50% chance that between now and expiration, this call spread's value will drop below 207 or 208. Now the next thing you'll look at is the delta, and this tells you the net delta of the position that you have queued up. So right now it's telling me that the delta of this 170-180 short call spread is negative 22 or negative 23. Now it's doing that, it's getting that calculation by taking the short call, which is the 170 call, and as we can see here, I have the delta column selected in my current platform, and the delta of the 170 call is 0.52, and the delta of the 180 call is 0.29. So since I've sold the 170, this is saying that there's a negative 52 delta on this particular option, because if Apple increases by $1, this option is expected to increase by 52 cents, and if I'm short the option, a 52-cent increase in the option's value results in a $52 loss for my position. On the other hand, the 180 call has a delta of 0.29, which indicates that if Apple increases by $1, this 180 call is expected to increase by 29 cents. Now, if I buy an option and it increases by 29 cents, that is a $29 profit per option that I own. So when you take the net delta exposure of these two options, we get negative 22 or negative 23 if you want to round up. So that means that if Apple increases by $1 and I'm short the 170 call, I'm expected to lose $52 and I'm expected to gain $29 from the long 180 call. So the net loss in that case would be negative 22 or negative 23. So the next trade info metric is Theta, and this is going to tell you how much an option position is expected to make or lose with the passage of 1 day. So I'm going to actually change it up a little bit, and with Apple at 172.40, I'm going to go ahead and sell the at the money straddle, or the options that are closest to at the money, which is going to be the 170 strike price in this case. So to queue up a short straddle on the 170 strike price, I'm going to click on the bid price for the 170 call, and I'm going to click on the bid price for the 170 put. Now this is going to queue up the 170 short straddle in the April 2019 expiration cycle, and as we can see here, the Theta value is stated at 10.09. Now this positive Theta of 10.09 is telling me that if Apple's stock price does not change and the implied volatility stays the same, with the passage of 1 day, this position is expected to profit by $10.09. Now, if this was negative, that would mean that we are expected to lose $10.09 with the passage of 1 day. I can actually show you that by just swapping it out. So if you hit the swap button, that will change all short options to long options and all long options to short options. Now since I have the 170 short straddle queued up, if I hit swap, that is going to change the position entirely to the long 170 straddle, which means I'm buying the 170 call and buying the 170 put. Now as we can see here, the theta has changed from positive to negative. So this negative 10.07 theta is saying that if I buy the 170 straddle on Apple and Apple's stock price stays the same and the implied volatility does not change, I'm expected to lose $10.07 with the passage of one day. Finally, you'll see the max profit potential and maximum loss potential of the position. So this is a 10-point wide short call spread that I've queued up, and the price that I have locked in here is $4.15. Now, locked in means that I have the position's price locked, which means if you have this lock button enabled, whatever price you have selected will not change. Whereas if I have the lock unlocked, then this mid price will update as these option prices change. So if I wanted to sell this position for no less than $4.20, I could just increase the price to $4.20. And as we can see here, the lock button enables automatically when you change the price from the mid price. But anyways, if I sold this 170-180 call spread for $4.20, the maximum profit potential would be $420 since I'm only selling one call spread, and if this $4.20 spread goes to $0 or expires out of the money, then my profit will be $420 per call spread. Now, since this is a $10 wide call spread, and if I collect $4.20 for it, the maximum loss is going to be $580 or $5.80 per call spread. Now that's coming from the fact that this is a 10-point wide spread, so therefore the maximum value of the spread at expiration is $10. Now that's going to occur if Apple is above $180 at expiration. This short 170 180 call spread will be completely in the money and it will be worth $10 at expiration. And if I sell it for $4.20 and it increases to $10, that is going to be a $5.80 loss on this one call spread, which translates to an actual dollar loss of $580. Now, if I change the quantity, all of these metrics are going to update in real time. So if I change the quantity to, let's just say, short 10 call spreads, now everything is basically multiplied by 10. So the maximum profit for selling 10 of these call spreads for $4.20 each is $4,200, and the maximum loss increases by 10 times to a loss of $5,800 if I sell 10 of these call spreads for $4.20, and it turns out that Apple is above $180 at expiration in 65 days. By using these width controls, you can quickly change the width of your strikes. So if you click the arrows that are pointing towards each other, that is going to reduce the width of your strikes. So right now we have the 185 short strike and the 195 long strike selected, which is a 10-point wide call spread. If I wanted to reduce that, I could go ahead and click on these arrows pointing towards each other, and that will reduce the spread width by one strike each. But since there was only one option in between these two, this just gives me a 5-point wide spread. Now, if I click the arrows pointing away from each other, this is going to adjust each strike price by 1. So this 185 short strike is going to move to the 180 strike, and the 190 long strike is going to move to the 195 strike. And I'll demonstrate that right now. So as we see, if I press the button with the arrows pointing away from each other, it's going to move each strike price one strike away. So it's going to widen it by one strike on each side. Moving over to the quantity, as I did earlier, right now I have 10 spreads queued up, but if I wanted to reduce that size to, let's say, just selling 5 spreads, I can reduce the quantity to 5, and as I mentioned earlier, all of these metrics, or the ones that can change, will update in real time. If I want to increase the quantity, just go ahead and click on the right arrow. Now it's worth mentioning that you do not have to use these controls down here. You can actually just click and drag on the box where the strike price is selected, and you can move to whatever strike you want. So let's say I want to sell the 200 call, I can just move that short strike to the 200 strike price, and if I wanted to buy the 230 call, I can go ahead and click and drag the green box to the 230 call, and now I have the 200 230 short call spread queued up. The next controls available to you would be the expirations, so you can reduce the time until expiration. So if I just go ahead and make this a little bit easier on you, I'm going to drop down this April expiration cycle, and this dot here indicates that I have a position that I've queued up in this particular expiration cycle. So right now I have the 200-230 short call spread queued up in the April 2019 expiration cycle, but if I click this minus time button, that moves it to the March expiration cycle. So it went from April to March. If I press that minus time button one more time, that's going to move this same position to the February expiration cycle. So as we can see there, just press the minus time button and it moved the position to February. And the same controls can be used to move the position out in time. So I just clicked that button a bunch of times and it moved it from the February expiration cycle to the July expiration cycle. So if you ever queue up a position and you find it's actually in the wrong expiration cycle, you can use these minus time and plus time buttons to quickly adjust the same position but move it to a different expiration cycle. The next buttons you can use are the undo and redo buttons. So if I quickly were to change the strike prices of this position to the 190 and 220 call, if I click on the undo button, that's going to reverse my changes and switch it back to the 200-230 call spread, which I had queued up previously. Finally, you can use this clear button to just clear any positions that you have queued up. So let's say I have this iron condor position that I've queued up and I want to just erase all these options. Just go ahead and click clear and that will clean the slate for you so you can start a new position or just get rid of that queued order. So now we're going to look at how to analyze and visually analyze an option position before you even trade it. So earlier we were looking at the 170-180 short call spread in Apple, but I'm going to go ahead and just look at the short 180, long 190, which is going to give me the short 180-190 call spread in Apple, which is currently trading for $197, but I'm going to round that up to $2 just to keep it nice and even. So right here we see that the maximum profit is $200 and the maximum loss is $800. Now what if we want to visualize the profit and loss potential of this position at expiration? Well, to do that, after you've queued up your position, go to the top under trade mode and click curve, and then make sure analysis is enabled. So this would be disabled, but if I click on analysis again, this will enable the analysis mode so I can start and visualize the profit and loss potential of this position at expiration. Now once we have the curve view opened up and analysis enabled, this is going to show us an expiration profit and loss diagram for whatever position we have queued up. So right now I have the short 180-190 call spread for $2 entered into this simulation, and we're visualizing here the profit and loss potential of this 180-190 call spread at expiration. In the very middle of this diagram, you'll have the prices for Apple, and this little flag right here indicates the Apple stock price. So right now Apple is trading for $170.35, and this little flag is right over the 170 price point, which indicates that Apple is trading somewhere near 170. Now this green zone is the profit zone of this position, and the red zone is the loss zone for this position. So if I sell the 180-190 call spread, my maximum profit zone is any price below 180, which we can visualize by looking at this chart. And if Apple is below 180 at the time of when these options expire, the profit on this position is going to be $200 per spread, which we can see by looking at the P&L exp right here, which means P&L at expiration, and that says positive 200. Now on the other hand, if Apple is above 190 at expiration, it doesn't matter what price Apple is at. If it's above 190 at expiration, this call spread is going to be worth $10. And if I sell it for $2 and it increases to $10, that is going to represent an $800 loss per call spread that I sell, which we can see on the top row here, and it says minus $800 at every single price above 190. Now you can also see that by looking at the P&L exp right here, which says minus 800. Now again, if I increase the quantity of this, so let's go ahead and increase the quantity to 5, everything here is going to update as well. So if I sell 5 of these call spreads for $2 each, my maximum profit potential is $1,000, so $200 of maximum profit per spread times 5 spreads gives me a maximum profit of $1,000, which we can see on this analysis chart right here. and as such, the maximum loss also increases by 5. And if we take an $800 loss per spread and multiply it by 5, we get a maximum loss potential of $4,000. Now that $4,000 loss, again, would occur if Apple is above 190 at expiration. So let's say everything with this position looks good to you and you actually want to put it on. Well, the mid price of this position, as we can see, is $2. And if I wanted to actually put this trade on for $2, what I would do is make sure that price is locked and $2 is selected. And then you're going to go ahead and click on Review and Send on the bottom right hand corner here. If you click Review and Send, it will once again confirm all of the details with you. So it's saying I'm trying to sell one Apple call vertical spread by selling the 180 call and buying the 190 call in the April 18th, 2019 expiration cycle, which has 65 days until expiration. Again, we can see all the trade info that we discussed earlier, and it's also going to estimate my commissions and fees and the total trade cost, or estimated buying power effect, which basically for this position is going to reduce my buying power effect by the maximum loss potential plus the fees. So if I actually wanted to put this trade on for $2, I would just go ahead and click Send Order, and on the top left it says Working. So this brings us to the next section, which is Activity. So if I go to Activity, we can see that I have a working order to sell this spread in Apple for a price of $2, but the current mid price is $199, so this position has not yet been filled. Now, if the price does get to $2, which is the price I've agreed to sell this spread for, and there is a counterparty that they're able to fill me at, then this position will be executed and this current position will move into my Positions tab, and it will no longer say working. It will show up just like this SPX position is showing up currently. Now, if you're looking at this order and you actually want to get rid of it, you can just right click on the order, click Cancel Order, and that will cancel that order that I just put into the queue. So while we're in the Activity tab, you'll notice that currently the only filter that I have selected is Working Orders. So this is only going to show me working orders. But since I just canceled an Apple order, if I go ahead and click on this Canceled Order filter and enable it, this shows me my recent canceled orders, which, as we know, I just canceled that Apple order just a few moments ago. So that Apple order is showing up when I enable the Canceled Order filter. Now, if I go ahead and enable the Filled Order and go to this Date filter, if I extend the date filter to, let's say, 7 days, or let's say 14 days, this will show me the trades that I have done in the past 14 days. And since I have all these different filters enabled, if I only wanted to see the filled orders, I could disable the canceled order filter, and this shows me my filled orders over the past 14 days. Now, up to this point, we've covered a bulk of the trading platform's functionality as it currently stands, but there are a couple more tabs underneath the Positions, Trade, and Activity tabs, which we'll cover right now. The first of those tabs is the Watchlist tab, which essentially just pulls up your watch list in this larger view. So if I go ahead and change the watch list to Project Option, this is going to show me my same Project Option watch list, except it's expanded into this larger view. And if you want to, you can go ahead and customize more columns to show up when you're looking at the watch list in this center main view. The next thing we can look at is the tastytrade stream. So if you go to this tab and click Agree, you can watch the tastytrade live stream directly from the Tastyworks trading platform. Underneath that, which is one that you might use quite often, is the chart. So if you go ahead and click on the chart, this is going to populate the chart with whatever symbol I have plugged into here, which currently is SPX. Now, if I wanted to go to a different chart, as I mentioned earlier, I can just click on any symbol from my watch list. So if I wanted to look at the Facebook chart, I could just, as I'm navigating to this chart, I can click on Facebook, and that will populate Facebook's chart into the chart area. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I do have some moving averages here, which you can get to by going to the indicators, and I'm actually going to remove these, so I'm just going to click on the X next to the indicators. You can go through this list and add whatever indicators to your charts that you want to, but I don't really use any indicators, so I'm just going to remove all those and click Close. Now, the next thing you can do is you can change the time filtering. So right now I'm looking at a daily chart, but if I go to W, that will change this to a weekly chart. And next you can choose the time frame. So right now I'm looking at a weekly 10-year chart of Facebook. If I change the time frame to, let's just say 1 year, this will show me weekly data for Facebook over the past 1 year. You can also change the chart type, so you can do an open, high, low, close, you can do the candlestick chart, you can do a line chart, or you can do a mountain chart. Now personally, I like a lighter background on my chart, so I'm going to go up to the gear, go to colors, and I'm going to change the background by clicking on that background square, and I'm going to choose the light color. Now I'm going to go back into the colors, and I'm going to change the grid line to a lighter shade, and this is generally how I like to set up my charts color-wise, but you can go into these color settings and change the colors of the candles and the general layout colors however you like to look at your charts. To the right of that gear symbol, there's a drop down with different crosshair selectors. So the top option, you're not going to have any crosshair wherever you're looking at, and the data that you're hovering over is going to show up in the very top left hand side here. So if I hover over this particular date, which is July 25th, 2018, we can see the open, high, low, and close data for Facebook. Now if you choose the second selector, this will actually give you a crosshair, so you can actually see what you're hovering over, but the data will still be on this top left-hand corner. The final crosshair you can select from the drop-down is going to show you all of the same information, except the box with the data in it is going to follow your crosshair. So if I move from left to right, we can see this data box here is moving with my crosshair, so I don't have to always look up at the top left-hand side of the chart. Now finally, you'll see that there's this last drop-down box. Right now it has the cursor, and this is the tool selection box. So the cursor is just the standard look that I'm going for right here, and this is just showing me the data related to whatever my cursor is hovering over. Now if I change that to a horizontal line, you'll see that it pulls up a horizontal line here, and if I click, that will place a horizontal line on my chart. I can also do the same thing with a vertical line. Go ahead and place it on the chart, and you can also draw trend lines and use all these different tools that are available to you on the Tastyworks platform. Now the last thing I want to show you is this collapsible menu on the right hand side here, which can be accessed by clicking on this arrow that is pointing into the middle of the trading platform. Go ahead and click on that arrow, and that's going to bring out this sidebar on the right hand side. Now since we're looking at Facebook, all of the information here is related to Facebook, and this chart is actually Facebook's price changes as of today's trading session. So this chart is not a daily or yearly chart. This is all of Facebook's price changes as of today's trading session. Underneath that, we have some basic quote information. So this is telling me the open, close, high, and low prices for Facebook today, along with the current bid and ask price. We have the IV rank and the IV index to the right of that, which are both implied volatility metrics. Underneath that, we see this little E, and this gives us the earnings date that is coming up in Facebook. But since Facebook already reported earnings and does not have an upcoming earnings date in the near future, there's no date that is listed here. To the right of that, we have the volume of Facebook today, which is just under 9 million shares. And to the right of that, we have a dividend amount. And since Facebook does not pay a dividend, there's no information here. And below that, we have some more information called position detail, but I do not have any Facebook positions right now, so there is no information populated here. Now, if you move down to analysis, this is going to show you any options that you have queued up and that you're actually analyzing. So if I go back to the trade page and quickly just select a random position, if I click on the 170 call in Facebook in the April 2019 expiration cycle, we can see that that position populates under this analysis tab on the right sidebar. Now this little flag right here indicates that this is not a real position I have in my portfolio. This is just a position I have queued up from the trade tab. And if I go to the curve view, we can again visualize the profit and loss potential for this particular position at expiration. Underneath that, we have the Watchlist tab, which again is just another view you can look at your watch list in. And below the Watchlist tab, we have the Activity tab, which since we're looking at Facebook, this is going to show me all of my Facebook trading activity. But since I haven't traded Facebook at all this year, I have no recent trading activity in Facebook. The final tab on the right sidebar is Quote Alerts, and this is what you can use if you want to set alerts on stock price changes. So right now we're looking at Facebook, and Facebook is currently at 166.32. If I wanted to set an alert for Facebook when it exceeds $170 per share, I can just do alert on last price greater than 170 is the price that I selected, and hit create alert. Now this creates an alert for when Facebook shares increase to a price above 170, and this is based on the last price. So this will not be triggered unless the last price that Facebook shares traded at is above $170. I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. That's going to do it for the essential features of the Tastyworks trading platform. We didn't cover everything, but hopefully you feel a lot more comfortable with the Tastyworks trading platform. Be sure to check the link in the description below for that offer when you open and fund your first account with Tastyworks. Once again, I'm Chris from projectoption.com, and thank you for watching this video.